This video is to demonstrate the components and the assembly of the ILC Dover Sentinel XL Powered Air Purifying Respirator. This is one of two respirators that are utilized and approved by the VA for Decon operations. The respirator consists of 5 key components. You have your filter cartridges, you have the motor assembly with battery, you have your flow meter, you have the hose and hood assembly, and then you have the backpack. The Sentinel XL also comes with a separate belt strap, but for this video, we're going to utilize the high deployable knapsack. First, when we're doing and employing the respirator, we want to make sure all of our components are serviceable. First components are going to be your filter cartridges. You want to ensure that the filter cartridges have the appropriate expiration date for the date of use. If they are old cartridges, you want to discard them and get cartridges that are within the expiration date. You also want to check all of the internal surface areas of the respirator, including the drum, as well as where the air comes in through the air inlet holes, and also where it is threaded. You want to ensure that the threadings on the respirator's cartridges are all in good repair. They're not bent or frayed or deformed in any fashion that could compromise airflow into the cartridge. You want to make sure the drum also does not have any significant dents or deep scratches that can cause or give an appearance of a penetration into the cartridge. You also want to make sure that the air intake points of the cartridge are also not deformed in any significant way or have any type of contaminants or blockages before you go ahead and apply them onto the respirator's motor. The next component is the respirator motor and battery assembly. For the Sentinel XL, the battery is connected to the respirator motor. So if you want to check the battery, you can go ahead and remove, by pressing the clamp, the back end of the respirator, which houses the battery component and also is connected by 2 electrical wires. If the battery is not working, you can remove the battery with the white clamping and replace the battery. The battery and the motor connection, again with the clamp, would allow the respirator to operate and function appropriately during operation. So you want to make sure that all of your wires and the battery itself is serviceable. When you're looking at the unit, you also want to make sure that there are no components of the motor and the motor assembly that are damaged or look as if they are compromised in any form or fashion. This includes the gaskets around the battery pack, which could allow, if that gasket is compromised, could allow liquids to flow into where the battery is located and possibly cause the battery to malfunction. You want to check the threading of the air inlet point for which your hose is connected to, as well as where your filter cartridges are connected. There are gaskets inside of the hose where the cartridges will enter in for attachment. If those gaskets are missing, they must be replaced before using this motor. You also want to check and make sure that the on switch is also in good repair. There's a rubber covering on that on switch. If that is damaged, you may want to look at switching out this particular unit or in getting it repaired. Next is your flow meter, your airflow meter. The airflow meter contains a small black floater that when testing the unit, this should be able to move freely up the airflow meter's tube. There's also writing and information on the airflow meter that determines whether you're getting the proper airflow. You want to ensure that that writing is visible and the indicator is clearly marked. If it is not, you want to go ahead and use a different airflow meter to test this particular respirator. Next is the hood and hose assembly. which consists of your face covering point with a air exhaust valve and also a permanently attached hood hose. This hood hose should be completely covered in its own permanent sleeve that is bonded and sealed to the respirator. If this is taken off or missing, this hood cannot be used for decon operations. You want to ensure the entire hood and its seams are in good repair, no damage, tears, or any type of possible punctures that could compromise airflow into the respirator and also provide a point where contamination can take place. There is also a face drawstring that allows you to be able to affix the hood securely and comfortably onto the user's head. You want to make sure that this cord goes completely around the entire hood and it goes through all of the nylon loops to secure the strap onto the hood. There's also a closing clamp on the hood drawstrings, which will allow this to properly be seated onto the operator. Inside the hood, there are two bibs. There's an outer bib and an inner bib. You want to make sure that both of those are on and connected to one another to ensure, again, that there is no contamination. Inside the hood itself, you will see a headband sweat strap. This should be also affixed to two black stretching nylon straps inside with snaps. You want to ensure that this is still inside and they're again, very serviceable. Lastly, we have the deployable backpack. The backpack, you should be looking to ensure that all weight-bearing points, the straps and belt loops are all serviceable. They're not torn or frayed, which could cause the backpack to fail while the operator is using it. So you want to check all of those nylon webbing and straps to ensure that they are not torn, frayed, or damaged in any way. Also, in the back end of the backpack, the motor is housed onto a nylon platform. You want to ensure that the nylon connecting straps are also in place and they are also serviceable. They can snap and release without any problems. The nylon webbing that holds the cartridges when the respirator is not in use should also be in good repair. No tears, frays, or anything that can cause the cartridges to fall out of place during use or transporting. In assembling this respirator, first we want to go ahead and get a hold of your motor, grab your cartridges, and begin placing them onto the units. Again, ensuring that you've removed all of the safety caps and covering caps for each one of the filter cartridges. When you're twisting on these filter cartridges, you just want them to be hand tight. You do not want to over tighten them, possibly causing the threading to get damaged and allow air to flow in through another point other than the point for which air should flow in through the filter. Again, we want to remove all of those covering caps and thread it on just hand tight as not to damage the threading on any of the cartridges. This unit requires all three cartridges to be in place for them to be properly used. After you've put on all the cartridges, you're now going to snap the respirator onto the knapsack. First, you want to snap onto the top carrying snaps before we connect the side carrying snaps. Now we're going to do the rear snaps onto the lower holes of the motor assembly. Now, after we have them all snapped in, they should hold on securely to the knapsack, allowing the operator to utilize the respirator from a backpack configuration. Now we're going to do a flow meter test. Holding the respirator above any surface to ensure that none of the intake holes are blocked, we're going to go ahead and take our flow meter and place it onto the connection point for the hood and the hose assembly. Once it is placed on top of the connection point for the hood, you're going to turn on the motor and observe whether the float reaches the point in which it is indicating that the respirator is receiving enough airflow. Once you determine that it is, you can turn the respirator off, and I'm going to demonstrate this. You notice that the float reached all the way to the top of the flow meter, indicating that this respirator is getting enough supplied air from the filters, so this respirator is ready to be utilized. You can take the flow meter off of the hood connection point, and now we can begin to connect the hood. Holding the hood with the face shield in one hand, you're going to grasp the other end of the hose, ensuring that all the components of the hose are, again, in still good repair, totally connected and bonded and covered completely by the sleeve. You can gently squeeze the hood hose to ensure that you don't hear any cracking or crushing sounds, indicating that the hose or the hood may be damaged or unserviceable. If you don't hear that, you can use this hood and begin the attachment process. Utilizing the end of the threaded portion of the hose, you connect that directly to the air intake point of the respirator motor. Again, you want it to be hand snug. You do not want to use any type of tools to tighten the hose onto the motor assembly. After it has been securely tied on, or screwed on, you can go ahead and give a quick test. And now this respirator is ready for use.